Hello and welcome to part 4 of my introduction to my everyday enchantment tarot video series. Now this part should have been about the unseen aspects of the deck, the spiritual or energetic aspects if you prefer. But after I made part 3, the last video, which was about the inclusivity of the everyday enchantment tarot and my aim to represent a wide variety of our creature kin, I then realised that I had to cover the wide range of human beings too. That was really important. So before I go on to the unseen aspect in the next video, I'm going to be looking into the diversity within this deck, focusing on people. I'm sorry, I'm doing breathing and it's going moving about. Sorry, I'm going to try and keep still, not breathe, if that's at all possible. Do very small ones. Okay, so I knew I had to embody the tarot archetypes in a fresh and authentic and contemporary way that meant widening my embrace to invite as many different kinds of person to express themselves through that role. So I thought of it as a bit like holding a psychic audition. I put out the idea into the ether, if you like, and I waited for the right person to reveal themselves to me. And some of them appeared almost immediately, fully formed, hey, they were right up front and wanting to do it, and some, it took rather a longer time. But I kept on putting out the call for those particular attributes, that particular sort of person, and whoever came was the one that got the job. Basically, I wasn't picking and choosing it. Oh no, I've got to have 3 more people that look like that. No, they just whoever came, they were the ones, especially if they were prepared to show themselves in all sides, positive, negative, and be a fully rounded expression of the archetype. So where am I? Yeah, it's also a bit like writing a novel. You know, when you're actually in the full flow of writing a novel, and some characters just appear fully formed and they gallop off with the plot, basically, and you just have to let them see where it's going to, because they seem to know better than you do. And that was a bit like what happened here. Obviously, I didn't let anybody do the be the character if I thought that it was completely wrong. I did vet it in some way, but not to control and contrive who was in and who wasn't on the basis of ethnicity or ability or anything else. Yes, so it really wasn't about scoring politically correct points in any shape or form, and it certainly wasn't about being tokenistic and patronising. Those were things that, again, were a complete anathema to me. It just had to be real and relevant and reach people that might have felt excluded from the tarot, because so many of them focus on pale, ethereal, mythic beauties or statuesque, unattainable, inscrutable warriors and wizards. And my deck basically has people of any age, any shape, any ethnicity or any level of ability, because that's who they are. That's genuinely who turned up when I held the audition. So I'm just going to use a quote here, or work with a quote, because I don't like using things. Sorry, I must stop saying that because I really don't like me saying it. Please forgive me. I must work with a quote that came into my awareness when I was listening to a absolutely marvellous adaptation of a book by S.E. Adugin, which has been on Radio 4 Extra. It's a book called Washington Black, and it is beautifully written. I can't recommend it highly enough. Fascinating story. And George Washington Black is an artist, and he says, oh, I'm sorry, I've moved the camera. He doesn't say that. I said that. I'll tell you what he says in a minute. Sorry, I moved the camera. He says, be faithful to what you see and not what you're supposed to see. And I was faithful to the people that came to share their attributes for this deck and didn't try and force them into another shape or form for the sake of glamour or tokenism or whatever. They are as they are, And what they share, what they bring to the deck, is their straightforwardness, their upfrontness, their genuineness, their warts and allness. They are approachable and familiar, and they are, most importantly, our equals. They're not above us, they're not unattainable, they are equals, and they're not on pedestals. Some of them might perhaps like to be. I can think of perhaps the devil wouldn't mind occasionally being on a pedestal, but most of them, that would not be something they would entertain for 5 minutes. And if they did, they'd soon learn by their mistake. Their personalities blend with the power of the archetypes, and hopefully, was my intention, and I think their intention too, to communicate with you directly and very deeply, honestly, in a really heart-to-heart, soul-to-soul type of way. In fact, their presence is so strong that they go on to tell their own stories in the first person in the accompanying book that goes with the deck, but there'll be lots more on that as we go on through other videos. So, I'm sorry I've been moving the camera around. Let's start looking at some of these characters. And we'll start off with these two, because there is no shortage of people who are not in their first flush of youth. Again, that wasn't a tokenistic gesture, it's just because here they are and that's what they wanted to do. They are apt representations of the archetypes and the energies of the card. And both of these, obviously, sorry, I'm going to use my pointer. Obviously both of these you're featuring, this is the Lovers and this is Death, featuring people that are quite a lot older. This lady might possibly be a great-grandmother, and these two have been together for an awfully long time. I just managed to make the camera unfocused by doing that. I am learning, I really am learning, I mustn't do that again. And what is nice to me about both of these is they are actually, I'm going to have to point, aren't I? I'll use this end. They are circular cards. They involve youth, and they show the cycle of life from youth to age. And again here, the young girl, if we follow this round, we have the younger woman that this lady used to be, and then we come back to her as she is now. It's a cycle, it's a continuation, and it's all inclusive, and that is important. And again, that wasn't contrived, that's literally how the piece turned out, and I'm very pleased that it did. These two are quite happy to be there. They don't want to be hiding at the back. Oh no, don't have us at the back, have the lovely young people at the front. No, we want to be at the front. We're not ashamed of ourselves. In fact, we're not even aware of how we look. We look into each other's eyes and we see the soul. We see the same beings that we've always been. It doesn't matter what our skin looks like now, or how much hair we've got, or anything else. So they weren't at all bashful about coming forward and letting the younger ones take the back role there. And there's a lot of drama going on in the background, and a lot of different sorts of people too, as well as creatures, but we covered that last time and we'll cover it again. So moving on to Death. What I love about this one, the point of this one, why I've included it besides the cycle of life that it eloquently expresses, is that this great-grandmother is at ease in her own skin. She is, and also defying any stereotype, because she's quite happy to wear funky Wellingtons, just like her great-granddaughter. Her face is full of wisdom and compassion and grace. She is a beautiful, calm, wise being, explaining the cycles of birth and passing away to this little girl, and you can see the tenderness in her. But she's also pretty funky, and there's quite a few of my cards that say, oh no, look, little old lady, but oh no, she's not what you think. She's more than what you think. We're all more than what we think, and that's just a little cue to remind us of that. But and in fact, she wanted to wear those, so I got taught something too. I get taught by these cards all the time. Every time I revisit them, look at them with you, I will go, oh look what they did there, because it's like they're doing it too. It's not me conducting it necessarily. So they challenge stereotypes. This card embodies all sorts of people. We've got the again, he's this older man here waving his walking stick. He's challenging things. He's got a bright yellow shirt on. I mean, it's really quite, it's quite leery there. He's not, he's not being a grey shuffling old man. He's in there in the action. Not that that's necessarily a good thing in this card, which is the Five of Wands. It's all topsy-turvy energy there, but there's all sorts of people here. There's a young runner, there's a sort of slightly more middle-aged man, there's the older man and the two young boys and the two fighting dogs. There's all sorts going on there. It's quite a dynamic thing, but the point is that they are very different people, and they wouldn't necessarily have come together unless that particular thing happened, but now they're more aware of each other, hopefully, and it gives us a bit of an opportunity to be more aware of who's around us at any particular moment. And moving on again, I chose these two, the King of Blades and the Four of Wands, because there is a vast variety of different people. Obviously with the jury, that's what you're going to get, so it was a great opportunity because the 12 people are chosen at random, and all human life is represented. Not all the faces are young, not all the faces are black, not everybody is glamorous and well groomed. They're just ordinary people trying to do the best job they can in being jurors on this case. And again, the two solicitors, barristers, lawyers, I'm not quite sure what the correct term is. There seem to be so many of them, but these wonderful people, educated people here, you can see by their faces that they are full of wisdom, they are focused, they are intent on doing the best job. There is nothing in them that suggests anything other than that. And so moving on to the completely different scenario from the courtroom, where you've got this family get-together party celebration, and again, all sorts of people are here, and they're just people you would see if people have photograph albums. I will show my age. If you have any way of storing your photographs and you go through them, or you look at old photographs, you will see these people, not exactly these people, but you'll see representatives of these types of people within your lives. They are ordinary, they are absolutely engaged in the moment, they are fun, they are just themselves. They are absolutely themselves. They don't shy away from being who they are, no matter whether they're perfect or not. But I think they're all perfect personally, but they may have, they may hold themselves up against media standards and think that they're not, but look at them. They're all warm, wonderful, happy, supportive people, and I think it's marvellous. I probably said marvellous too many times already, but isn't it marvellous anyway? I'll think of a new word in a minute. I do have quite a few words, it's just when you're videoing, somehow they slip away into the ether. Anyway, now these two are tricky. Not because of, well, in the case of Strength, she appeared straight away. Boof, there she was, I'm doing this. I'm your woman for the job, basically. And she was about the second or third card that actually just popped into my process, to my audition, as it were. And of course I had to do a little bit of, is this okay to use a woman in a wheelchair, or utilise or work with? I've done it again, work with a woman in a wheelchair, because I'm not using her. She came to me and I don't want to use her in the slightest. I want to work with her. I want to work with, you can see how ingrained that whole idea within us is using. I want to use this, I want to use that. I want to work with, I'm going to have to try and consciously remember that I work with. I have no intention of using, and I hope that you don't either. We work with the deck, we work with the people in the deck. So she came in a wheelchair, wanting to go over the stony ground and wanting to create that fire labyrinth. It was no problem to her. She could do it. It was going to be tough. Of course it was going to be tough. It was going to be as tough as this little green sprout pushing up through the stony ground. It was going to be hard going, but she knew she could do it. She didn't have any doubt, and there she is. She's not a token gesture, she's just part of life, and she is absolutely confident, fearless and strong, hence Strength. And again with the King of Wands, who is a visually impaired man with his white cane, And he would have laughed in my face if I'd have said, no, we can't have you. It's just, isn't that just taking things a bit far and, exploiting you in some way, O king? And it's like, that's a nonsense to him, he is what he is. He's happy in his own skin. He's not posing. He's not trying to make a point. That's what he does. He goes out there and he runs and he leads a running group full of a mixture of people of all sizes and colours and ages and they're all having a great time, and he is not thinking for 1 minute about his limitations. In fact, he's trying to get everybody to move beyond their perceived limitations. He is just a leader, no matter what condition he was in, what apparent limitations have been imposed on him. He doesn't consider himself to be differently abled. He's just the King of Wands, doing his stuff. Okay, and here we have the Eight of Wands, coins. My card is moving about, that's what put me off. I'm going to cut his poor head off there, I think. I'm going to have to move her a minute. Right, now the Eight of Coins I've got to mention because this was one of the cards that if I had no borders, the crop would have had to have come right through the middle of those coins, thus making a complete nonsense of the fact there was 8 of them. So that was one of the main reasons why that happened to quite a lot of cards, but that was one of the ones that stuck in my head, that no way can I have that cropped off, so the borders had to be included. And here again is a young man with Down syndrome. Not that it matters to him whether he has Down syndrome or nothing. He is just himself, and in himself is this incredible self-belief and drive and motivation and joy in what he does. He absolutely loves to create. He can't believe the other people in the workshop aren't as enthusiastic and dedicated as he is. He's found his passion and he wants to do it, and he hasn't got any sense that he can't. And neither is his teacher, who glows with pride about him. It's just, you only got to look at him. And it was quite strange that quite a while after I'd finished this deck, a series of posters appeared on billboards and bus station things and I can't think, but you know what I mean, large posters around town. And it was a campaign. I don't quite know which charity was running it, but it was basically a young man that looked very much like this, and he was basically saying, here I am, see me, look in my eyes, see me, don't see what you consider to be my disability, here I am. And it was quite an extraordinary thing, and I thought, this is great, because there's some zeitgeist going on here. There's some move away from where we've been to where we're going to, in terms of seeing the person, just the person, in fact beyond the person, into their actual energy, their being, their soul, their spirit, their fire, and judging them by what they do and who they are, rather than what they can't do and what they're not. And finally, as we're getting quite long now, I shall try and wrap up. I just had I'm going to have to do, oh God, I'm going all over the place, sorry. These two I just included, the Moon and the Ten of Wands, because another point in these cards is that the characters do not shy away from authentic emotion, even if it makes them look frazzled and furrowed and not cool, calm and collected, and perhaps not at their best, or whether they look slightly distressed and harassed and all the rest of it. They just show us that they're just prepared to stand there and go, look, this is what's happening, this is how I feel, this is what I'm trying to communicate. I'm not going to just order my features into some more attractive pose for you. This is what's going on for me right now. Can you step into this and can you feel it with me? What does it say to you? If I hid what I felt, and what the Lady in the Moon feels is quite distressed, quite disturbed, because she's being jeered at by all these youngsters in the background who think they're so gorgeous and the height of style, whereas this bag lady is completely unconcerned with anything to do with style or anything else. But isn't she just marvellous? I've done it again, marvellous. Isn't she just wonderful? She is full of character, she is full of eccentricity. She brings a whole new dimension to this regulated, boring high street that could be anywhere. She is different. She's different, and she's gloriously different. And when you hear her story, you'll know what's going on in her mind. In fact, part of what I think is she isn't actually looking distressed. She's off in her own little world, doing her poetry, writing her lyrics in her head. It's what she does. So we might think she's very traumatised by this, and she might well be, and that might be relevant to you at the time you're looking at the card, but it's not necessarily all that's going on. She might not even be aware of them. She is just in her own space, being who she is, singing her little songs in her head, composing the most extraordinary rhymes. Who knows? That's for us to work out when we meet her in the tarot. Anyway, I'm just going to move back over here in an irritating fashion to finish off. So just to recap, there's already, you've probably got them yourselves, there are so many decks and so many illustrations that depict youthful perfection and glamour, and that is great, it's fine, and fantasy is a lovely thing. It has a place, it's very popular, but it shouldn't be all that we encounter. Perfection shouldn't be all that we see. We should see ourselves, we should see our bus driver, the canteen cook, the bank manager and the busker with new eyes, because they're all our teachers. We're our teacher when we look in the mirror. We're all equally vital and precious as part of the dance of life, and that dance of life is encapsulated so perfectly and beautifully within the tarot system. And there I will stop, because I have gone on for 21 minutes and that's probably too long. Next time I really will try and keep it shorter, but I do enjoy talking to you, not because I like the sound of my own voice, but because there's so much to say, so much to share, and I love doing it, and I hope that comes across. So for now I will say goodbye and hope that you're taking care of yourselves and all other beings that you encounter. For all our relations, lots of love. Bye.